What's up, soldiers? Chris here, caribbeanpot.com. Always a pleasure having you guys here in the kitchen with me. Let's talk about Chadon Beni. Some of you call it bandana, some of you call it culantro, not cilantro. As a proud Trinbagonian, you have seen me use Chadon Beni countless times in my recipes. It's one of them things we just love to use. Now, as a kid growing up on the islands, I lived in the countryside, and after the rainy season started and the banks of the rivers would come up and there would be flood everywhere, a lot of rain and stuff like that on the side of the riverbank. I'm telling you, the best Chadon Beni you will ever find. Nobody grew it commercially. Today when I go back, I see a lot of people growing it commercially. Take a look at how I grow it in the backyard. This is looking down at the Chadon Beni plant. Now, as we say in the Caribbean, or as in Trinidad and Tobago, we say this, yo boy, that thing have real picker, which means it's thorny. So I'm going to use this as an example to move this. Those leaves there that you're seeing is very sort of spiky, so you can't really go from the top down. The other thing, what you're looking at here, these are the sort of seed pods. That's where the sort of pod where the seeds are going to develop. So once you leave these on here, and I've never been successful in growing it from seed here in Canada, but that is where the seed is going to develop, and that's where you're going to harvest the seeds from. One of the other challenges we have here in Canada, and I've never had it in the Caribbean when I lived in the Caribbean, is actually growing the Chadon Beni leaves. Now the top sort of foliage, it grows like crazy. I'm just going to move it over, and you're going to see these are the leaves here. These little tiny things here, those are the leaves. Typically, those are larger than that. But unfortunately here in Canada, that's all I get is these tiny leaves that you're seeing here. I'll pick one off and I'll show you. Those are the only leaves, and this is the actual Chadon Beni. So this is the plant, these are the seeds here, seed pods, and this is the actual Chadon Beni leaf. Earlier I said culantro and not cilantro. This is cilantro. Got a beautiful cilantro or coriander here. And if worst case scenario, if you cannot get culantro or Chadon Beni or bandana, there's so many different names, cilantro is your next best friend, and the roots has a lot of flavor as well, friends. So don't toss that out, give it a good wash. But today we're talking about Chadon Beni. But anyhow, this is cilantro, not culantro. This here is the variety or the type of Chadon Beni or culantro I get here in Canada. Check the Asian markets, check the West Indian markets, check the Latino markets. You'll find it there. But this is the version, skinny, a little bit more thinner, but still, I'm real thankful here because I can get it here in Canada. I have a whole bunch of it here. I'm just going to give it a quick wash because I am doing a Caribbean green seasoning to store in my fridge. Winter is coming in, so your boy getting himself prepared. This has the sort of flavor as cilantro. Some of you call it coriander, but I'll be honest with you, I much prefer the flavor of the Chadon Beni, which is what you're seeing here. It is a bit more pronounced, and for those of you who get that soapy taste with cilantro, I can guarantee you, well, I ain't guaranteeing you because I really never taste it, because to be honest with you, I don't suffer from that condition. You will not get that soapy, I stand to be corrected, sort of flavor with Chadon Beni. As far as storing it, it doesn't keep well in the fridge. Wash it, dry it, wrap it in paper towel and leave it in the fridge, or wash it, air dry it, put it into the freezer, and every time you want to use some, you would break it off. It will be frozen, but you would break it off, shake that into your pot, boom bam, you got Chadon Beni to go. The second thing is you can put it into the Caribbean green seasoning as you've seen me do in the past. The third thing, if you wanted, you can blend it, put it in the blender with some olive oil, blend it up into some ice cube trays, freeze it, and every time you want some, plop a cube in there, or keep it in your fridge, a couple tablespoons, and you're good to go. Those are the only ways I know. Well, I've dehydrated it, to be honest with you, and that is a video I'll be sharing with you all soon. So we've got frozen, we've got in olive oil, and you keep it in the fridge. You've got Caribbean green seasoning, you've got dehydrated. So those are your options for trying to keep it relatively fresh in flavor. So now you know the difference between Chadon Beni, which is culantro, and cilantro. You know how it is grown. It grows wild in the Caribbean, I'll be honest with you. But now people, you know, they commercialize it because there's a big market for it. It's a big demand for it. I grow it in my backyard. It grows from seed as well. But if you wanted, I have tried growing it from the root part of it, and it did work. Yeah, it did work. But as you saw in that little video clip there, all I get is foliage, the top sort of foliage, and not the leaves. Really tiny leaves compared to what you saw I got at the Asian market. Chris here, caribbeanpot.com. Always a pleasure having you guys in the kitchen with me. Chadon Beni, you got to love it, man. Yes.